Welcome back in, builders. This week we're taking a look at Bogarus, Age of Heroes. Bogarus is a land of harsh winters and short summers. When the Vanir claimed this cold and bitter land of the north, they named it Vanarus and carved a kingdom out of the frozen land. Now humans have replaced the last of the Vanjarls, and the kingdom is guided by the eparchs and exarchs of the religious order. Many cities under the rule of warring princes have united under the grand princes and reformed faith. Bogatirs of heroic stature and prowess, defenders and champions of the faith, occasionally emerge to lead and protect the people from the wicked. The grand princes use infantry as well as elite cavalry forces. Mages of various traditions ply their trade in the palaces of the grand princes. The people of Bogarus prefer a cold climate. This is definitely a nation that has a pretty good smattering of troops, cavalry, and mages. We'll get into troops here in a second, but not the worst lineup with one glaring exception, I suppose. For national features, we are, as a race, humans with partial cold resistance and prefer a cold scale of +2. Military, we have our heavy cav, our mounted archers, and infantry. Unfortunately, our mounted archers are using composite bows. Could be worse, they could be short bows, but they're not crossbows, unfortunately. For magic, we are good at fire, astral, blood, and we have a bit of air, earth, death, and we have all the Rusian line summons from earlier eras, so the whole clown car worth of them are all here. Our priests are powerful. We have a cap-only Holy 3 that we can recruit. That's rather nice. For scales and blesses, we have a cold limit of +1 and a misfortune limit of +1. For buildings, we have standard forts. That means citadels in the late age. Site-wise, we have two. We have the Grand Cathedral. Grand Cathedral allows us to get the Eparch, which is our Holy 3, gives us 1 Astral Pearl. And we have the Hall of Elders, which gives us another Pearl, along with an air gem and a fire gem. Overall, actually kind of a nice little income here. 2 astral, a air, and a fire is not the worst. Definitely some opportunity there. Remember, you can always change 2 astral pearls for one of whatever gem that you want. So a little bit of built-in flexibility there for sure. Units and sacreds. As I mentioned before, we have a pretty decent lineup here. Glaringly missing crossbows, unfortunately. Luckily, we're in the late age, so hopefully you can nab a decent crossbow and get a fort on it relatively early, because we would certainly like that. Starting us off here, we have the Voy Spearman. This is a very light troop for late age. This is a spear troop, only 9 attack, 13 piercing, also has a javelin he's not very good with. This is like our militia equivalent with his 8 morale. These are human stats, essentially, not a very well-trained troop. Do note that we have the cold resistant, and this troop has snow move. Unfortunately, our entire roster does not have snow move. Other than being a militia price, not particularly amazing here, unfortunately. Next, we have the Voy Axeman. It's the same guy, but he's dropped his javelin and spear and traded it out for an axe. Much better, actually. Yes, it's only 9 attack. I don't love that. But you get 18 slashing damage. 18 slashing damage is enough to be able to kill or at least damage most non-extreme things. And 18 is hard. It hits hard enough that we also will break shields relatively easily with that. Slashing has a bonus to do that. Again, we have that snow move, the cold resist. If you have to get one of these cheap guys, I definitely prefer the axe. Maybe you can do something. Next, we have our archer unit, the Voy Archer. He's got a dagger and short bow in the late age. Again, he's a militia type troop with only 8 morale. I don't love these troops. At least they're a very cheap bow. Maybe you grab 50 of these and fire archers and you can wipe out the enemy crossbows. Yeah, you'll have some pretty bad attrition on the first shot, but then you'll have fired 2 or 3 times before they get their second volley off. So might be worth thinking something with that. Or just to give a distraction for the enemy to fire them rather than something more important. Next up, we have kind of our shield infantry. This is the Peshti Axeman. Again, I really like the axes here. 10 gold, 18 resources, 9 recruitment points. So about double resources to recruitment points. Very human stats here. A little bit heavy armor, so we're only combat speed 8, which is a little low. Encumbrance is a little high at 7. 14 protection. That's not that gold standard 16, but it's in the realm, I would say. I sure wish it was a little higher, but that's okay. The axe, again, 18 slashing damage is nice. We're up to 10 attack here. Scale mail halberd, a half helmet, and a nice kite shield. I do like kite shields quite a bit. So the kite shields will definitely help you wither the range fire, and kite shields plus that amount of armor. You'll still probably get tickled by the crossbows, but at least you're not going to just get outright headshot and killed. So that's okay. We have a spear variety of the same. I don't like this one. Spear, yeah, you might be able to get some repels, but 13 pierce is not going to cut it in late age. Don't like that one. Finally, we have the Peshti City Guard. I like these ones quite a bit too. These are very similar to what we were just looking at, except for we've traded out for a broadsword. Broadswords are notable for having +1 to their attack rating. So 16 slashing damage. So if you don't necessarily need the damage that the axe brings, the 18, the extra attack is actually really valuable. Having just 1 or 2 extra attack makes a big difference in your actual damage output. So that's a nice little jump there. In addition, these ones have a castle defense bonus. Again, just really nice to be able to hold up castle walls. And this would be guys to plug up the doorway quite nicely. 11 gold, 20 resources, 12 recruitment points. Not really even that much more expensive. All these ones that we've been looking at here for the heavier infantry, 10 morale and 10 morale on the spearmen and axemen respectively, and up to 11 on the city guard. So I like this one a lot. This is my preferred unit if I'm going to get the infantry for sure. Now we're moving into some cavalry. We have the Grid Druzia. This is the lighter of the two. Gold 27, resources 25, 29 recruitment points. So about 1-to-1. Not the worst price, but not cheap either. A little bit better than human stats on the rider. 13 protection, 11 morale. Has the cold resist, is a skilled rider. Wielding a broadsword he's quite good with, 12 attack, 16 damage. Also has a composite bow. I don't love composite bows, but here, maybe you're like gonna attack rear. You'll still shoot your bow on the way in, or maybe even you do something like fire and keep distance. You'll fire off your quiver of arrows, 12 of them in this case, and then you'll go into melee. So you'll have some fresh archers, well, archer cavalry going into melee late in the fight that will have 12 attack and 16 slashing damage. That actually can be kind of valuable there. Chainmail cuirass and a half helmet. That's okay armor. Do note that body's only 12, so that's not stellar. The horse has leather barding, ain't gonna do anything in late age, frankly. Only 5 magic resist, otherwise it's a horse. It's okay. That's not enough armor to save him, but at least we're not paying for something expensive either. Next, we have the Malia Druzia. This is a nice heavy cav unit, I would say. 40 gold, 45 resources, 46 recruitment points. So yeah, you're paying, I'm not even gonna call that a premium. This is pretty fairly priced for what you get. You get a lot better than human stats, 13 HP, 11 strength, 12 attack skill. Very nice there. 18 protection, that's 18 true on body and head. Also has a shield. 10 magic resist, 13 morale. He himself is also a bodyguard, wielding an actual lance. So this is a full thing. You remember, you only get 1 hit of these, and you do get bonus damage on that first hit. That's going to be based on your combat speed. So this is pretty good. 13 attack. You're likely to hit 17 plus damage. You're going to hit for like 20 to 22 probably with that. That's pretty good. That's likely to get a kill or a good grievous wound onto your target. So quite like that. And then you'll switch out for a broadsword that he's very good with. 13 attack is great. 17 slashing damage is enough. I like these guys a lot. I like that they are also that 18, so above the 16, kind of what I consider average for the age. Makes them pretty good. Now, the downside of this unit is, as usual, our horse. At least he's wearing cataphract barding, so that is 13 on the body, 21 on the head. 13 is not enough to save you from everything. It's not going to be unusual that we're going to lose some of these. The big weakness here, ironically, is actually the magic resist. This is just a normal horse. 5 magic resist, and it is an animal. So the animal targeting spells, mind burn, other magic resist things will take these horses out pretty effectively. That being said, especially if you're playing against the AI. The AI is not going to target that on purpose. A player will be much more likely to actually try to counter your cavalry. Recently, we did some late age relay, and the heavy cav that we had to clear was no problem because the mind burns would just kill the mounts or paralyze them. So even if you don't kill the rider necessarily, you just paralyze their mount, and then they just stand there doing nothing until you can piecemeal them down. So that's a bit of a weak point here, but otherwise a quite nice unit. Definitely a good non-sacred heavy cav, I would say. Next, we have our sacred. This is a non-cap sacred, but the Clist is not very good. 7 gold, 3 resources, 2 recruitment points. It is sacred. Has lower than normal human stats other than magic resist and good morale. Has that cold resist, has snow moon, is stealthy. Causes 0.5 unrest. That can be useful, but it's not super high, so you would need a big stack of these that you'd have to stealth around to try to do something. They have absolutely no armor. They're wielding only a Morning Star that they're not very good with. They only have 9 attack. And they, I believe, many Kilsts have mutilated their bodies and suffer from various ills. They often recruit in with afflictions. So kind of sort of like flagellants, but whereas flagellants have a really nice double attack flail, these guys do not. I do not particularly care for these guys. If you have an amazing bless, sure, let me know. I'm going to guess a lot of people have like fire explosion or something on them, but I'm just not impressed with these guys at all. If I was going to do something with them, it probably would be something like fire explosion and just like attack closest immediately with one of our priest level 3s to buff them nice and safely far away from my main troops. Other than that, though, I just don't care for these guys. Next, we have 2 units that are non-fort recruits. They can be recruited in plains, farms, and wastes. Starting us off, we have the Black Hood. 18 gold, 13 resources, 15 recruitment points. Depending on the province, you can usually get a couple to a few of these. That's not terrible. They have a mace, which is 10 attack and 16 blunt damage. That's actually all right. It's got the 16 damage I like to see. And they have a composite bow that is, unfortunately, just that 13 pierce damage. Leather hauberk and a full helmet round that out. Well, I don't love these. I don't hate them either. Fire and keep distance. Maybe you can drag the enemy's crossbows out of position. You have them shoot at these guys round 1. You're going to lose some. But then as these run away, hopefully they will drag the enemy crossbows closer and they're not spending time firing. They're walking closer, and then your counterfire or maybe some of your own flankers could get in there. Conversely, maybe you just hold attack rear or hold attack archers with these guys and let them just zip on in there pretty quick. The horse that they're riding has no armor, but if you're going to have super light armor, you may as well not have any, and you may as well not pay for it. So I don't really consider that a huge downside here. So these guys are okay for a non-fort recruit. We also can get the Stag. This is the same recruitment parameters. This is a little heavier of a troop. 35 gold, 30 resources, 36 recruitment points. So often you're not going to get more than maybe 2, maybe 3 of these anywhere. Because once you start putting up forts, remember, it's going to draw resources away from the non-forted areas. That being said, if you did, though, human stat rider has a scale mail hauberk and a full helmet, so okay protection. Has a light lance. I don't love the light lance, but if you're hold attack rear, get into the archers, get into the mages, a lance hit isn't the worst thing ever. It is a standard, so remember standards. As long as you have at least 1 unit with a standard in a unit, you get +1 morale. So maybe you sprinkle these into your heavy cav just to give them some extra morale, although the heavy cav doesn't really have morale problems. So not huge into that, but it's okay. Cold resist, of course, the mobile archer and skilled rider. Their horse is wearing light scale barding for 10 protection. I believe it's only on the body. Yeah, only on the body. I don't love that. Again, you're paying for that, and is 10 going to ever save this horse? Probably not in late age. That being said, these are at least usable non-fort recruits. They can be kind of nice in the early game. We can get some decent cavalry leaders to go pick them up, and they're not the worst thing ever. You know, you can have somebody else hold the middle line, you attack rear, maybe 10 on each side, and you can do some surprising things with that. Can be kind of nice, and it's nice to have some usable cavalry that you can get out. So overall, not the worst line. Our mainline troops look really heavy if you look at their sprite. but they're actually a little on the light side with a nice shield at least. They would certainly like some buffs, which we can do some light buffing for them. Protection wise, we're not the best, but we're not the worst at that. So they would really appreciate that. Strength would also be nice in our lineup. We're humans in late age, so strength goes a long ways for sure. Heroes, commanders, and prophet. For heroes, we actually have 4. We have the Bogarus. He's just a good leader. I believe these are a multi-hero, and you could just randomly get multiples of these. Always nice to have free heroes. 150 leadership, and he's inspirational, and a priest. Sure, I'll take him. We have the Hag. The Hag is Air 3, which is our highest air mage. Water 2, something we normally don't have. Can help with some of our summons. Death 4, again, the highest death. And nature. So a lot of the paths that we don't have are all available on her if you can get her. She has fear, shock resist, cold resist, poison resist. She flies. She has forest survival, extra food from the nature, and is old. Very nice one to get. Be very careful with her. She's not immortal if you do get her. Next, we have Deathless. Deathless is immortal. Has air 2, water 2, death 3. Has fear. Has a chill aura, and is old. It would be hilarious to boost her to blood 2 and then blood feast her down out of old and turn her into just one of those really annoying mages that can come in and do I don't know, she can't winds of death, but we can winds of death. Yeah, come in and winds of death with her, and then she's immortal, so you can always bring her back just to be annoying. And finally, we have Patriarch. Patriarch is a priest level 4, blood 2, death 1. Quite a interesting unit here. He is a domain monster summoner. I didn't get him in any of my test games, and I can't for the life of me remember what he pulls in. I want to say he pulls in Voice, one of the really light militia units, but I could be wrong. He might get even recruited in some sacreds, but either way, I don't think. Yeah, Mini Killis seek him out, so it's probably the sacreds, but I'm not in love with the sacred, so it's not the coolest thing ever, unfortunately. Starting us off on the commanders, we have the Bogarusian Scout. He's a standard scout, 35 gold, 4 resources, 1 recruitment point. Has cold resistance, snow move, stealthy 50, mountain, and forest survival. Not much to say here. He's a scout. It's nice to have them. We're guaranteed that we have a scout that we can recruit. Next up, we have the Voivode. This is our standard leader. He is only 75 leadership, cold resistant, and snow move. Has a broadsword that he's quite good with. 12 attack, 17 slashing damage. Slightly better than human stats, I guess I should call out. Reinforced leather cap and a chainmail cuirass, however, not the best protection. Also no shield. Next, we start in our cavalry leaders. First is the Nyaz. Decent leader here. 100 leadership, only 1 recruitment point. 135 gold, 31 resources. Doesn't really break the bank here. Has the cold resistant, inspiration +1, and is a skilled rider. So with 100 leadership, you're already getting a +1, so that's a +2 to leadership. Even our junky militia guys, that takes them up to 10, and our better troops will be fine with this type of leadership. He is very good with his broadsword, 13 attack, 18 slashing damage, has a reinforced leather cap and a chainmail cuirass, so a little on the light side for his armor. I don't mind these guys, they do fine. If you're having him lead infantry only, just be aware somebody could fire enemy cavalry with some crossbowmen, and they will absolutely pincushion this guy and kill him as soon as he gets in range. So just be aware of that. Next, we have the Veliki Nyaz. This is the heavier of them. This is 2 recruitment points, so not the fast of the first guy. He's only 190 gold and 43 resources. Much better than human stats. This guy is a unit. 16 HP, 13 strength, 13 attack. 15 morale for himself, and 150 leadership with inspirational. That's a +3. That's pretty rare. You usually have to be like a centurion leader or something to get that high. So he is a very, very good leader. Has the cold resist, of course, and skilled rider. He's moved up to an iron cap and a plate halberd, and he's even better with his broadsword at 14 attack, which is pretty ridiculous. His horse also has the cataphract barding. Again, it's only 13 on the body, but it's okay. That's about, maybe you can take a hit at this point using it. I like these guys quite a bit. Just absolutely rock solid morale for your troops. The map move of 18 here, so there's no difference between the two. all things being equal, I would probably get the better leader, but this guy does just fine. You also save what, like 55 gold or something. That adds up with how many leaders you might get. So that's all right. Overall, nice leadership here. We have a cheap guy to go collect things that we're recruiting elsewhere or build infrastructure. We have a perfectly usable guy, and we have the premium version of him. So nice leadership here. I'll definitely give him that. Next, we have the Skulpets. This is the leader of the Klists. Again, I don't love it. He's a priest level 1 sacred. He has a 20% chance to get blood, has cold resistance, snow move, is stealthy, causes some unrest. I will say he is a stealthy guy that has priest level, so you can do some stealth preaching, and he also does unrest. So for that, I'll give him at least some points. Am I going to pay 95 gold for that? Maybe. Stealth preachers are rather nice to have, if nothing else. Maybe you get him and just a ragtag group of these guys so that when he gets caught, maybe you can take a few things with you. Yeah, he's okay. I don't have too much to say about that. The stealth preach option is nice to have. Next, we have an Ekark. This is 100 gold, 2 resources, 2 recruitment points. He's our priest level 2, has cold resistance. Only 10 leadership, so he's not going to really ferry troops around. He's fine. Being able to get priest level 2s means we can sermon of courage everybody. We don't generally need to do that because our morale's good. But if we had to do banishes and whatnot, that's a pretty solid. Priest level 2s are pretty good for doing things like that. Next up is Occultist, first of our mages here. 140 gold, 2 resources, 2 recruitment points. Human-ish stats, a little on the weak side. He is age 50. He is right on the cusp of old age. Has Astral 1, Death 1, Blood 1, 11 research for 112 gold a year. That's right at what I would consider efficient. We have better, though. Is cold resistant and comes in at old age. Note that because we have Astral, we could jump into Communion, so that makes anything you'd like to do with the Death pretty easy to do. So a small community of these guys could do something like Hordes of Skeletons or the like. So it's a usable mage. I'm not like jumping for joy. We also have Death and Blood, so maybe you empower him in Blood, you do some rituals to get him young, then you empower him some more, and then he's recruiting vampires or something. Wait in the game. Kellen Dorgist. This is a really nice mage. This is like almost my cream of the crop type mage. 145 gold, 2 resources, 2 recruitment points. Human stats. He is not coming in old age. Has 2 astral, 9 research for 116. So he's not the efficient mage for research. Has cold resist 5 and fortune teller 10. What I like about these guys is the astral 2. Astral 2 is amazing. Early game, you could just mind burn some things. A couple mind burners added to an expansion party significantly increases your likelihood to win fights. They'll get some kills or some paralyzes. They might do some things to the heavy cav that will help you out. Once you get body ethereal, that can help a lot. And with 2 astral, they're not going to poop out. So you script something like body ethereal times 3 and then advance. And they will most likely advance forward and body ethereal more of your troops. And if they don't, what are they going to probably do? Well, they're probably going to mind burn or starfire, both of which are perfectly acceptable spells. So I like these guys a lot. That's a fair price. I mean, if we could knock these things off, that would be like 130-ish. You pay for every trait you get, essentially, but perfectly fine, very usable. A Light of the Northern Star takes them to Astral 3. That lets them do things like Soul Slay. That lets them do things like anti-magic. Pretty darn easy. Very nice mage. Quite like them. Alchemist. Alchemist, of course, has the alchemy trait. So if you use any of the rituals that produce gold, this gives you just 50% more. Comes in with Fire 1, Earth 1, and an Astral. Unfortunately, he is again old age. They're all right at the cusp and not sacred. Just note that there. 11 research for 124. Again, not quite efficient for a research mage. He is guaranteed to have Earth, though, so he might get 1 or 2 just to do a little quick sight searching for you. Jumping into a little Communion, you could throw out some Magma spells, or you could throw out some Earth spells. Even just 3 of these guys, a Master and 2 Slaves, get you to Earth 2, and then he Earth powers, and then he can give out the protection buffs, or weapons of sharpness, or giant strength, things you would quite like on your army. That being said, though, you're running around with old men with 14 map move. It's going to hurt a little bit. It's going to hurt a little bit. Astra Pelagist. This is a Air 2 Astral 1. Again, 175 gold, 2 resources, 2 recruitment points, 11 research for 140 gold. So now we're even less efficient. Don't love that. I'm not sure why he's that much more. It's basically the same. I guess we're paying for those 5 years of life because he's not generally going to be old age. There is a little bit of randomness when you recruit people. I want to say it's like plus or minus 5 years. Maybe it's not quite that extreme, but you might get some of these that come in old age. That being said, a air level 2 mage is perfectly usable. He can give you some air shield or some mist form, and obviously can easily hop into a communion. The thing I like here is that even if you have to use the same mage to support themselves, so aka we don't have a cheapy mage that can support these guys, it's not too bad. Again, just like a 3-man communion gets us to 3. 3 is enough to go up into storm. So you could storm off of these guys if you were so inclined. We don't have good archery, so maybe you just throw up storm and then you lightning bolt them or something. So could be pretty nice there. I like this guy, and not guaranteed to be old is a nice little bonus there. Master of Names. What I find really nice about him, 215 gold. So we've moved up in price a little bit again. What do you get? 2 astral guaranteed, and then a random of fire, air, or blood. Now, the randoms here, I actually really don't care particularly. I just don't. I guess the fire allows you to do something like Eclipse if you wanted to go that route. We don't really have dark vision built in, but there are reasons that you may want to do that. The big thing for me here is he actually has Adept Researcher +6 on a non-slow to recruit, non-cap only mage. So we're getting 17 research for 172 gold. Now you're going to say, Babel, that's 1 research per 10 gold. That's what you consider just standard average efficiency. Yes, but you also have to take into account the cost of the mage that's doing it and the speed at which you can recruit them. In the early game, if you're rushing some kind of research, I can get 1.5 of these guys out of my capital every turn. So that's going to be, what would that be? Let's round it to 8. So 25 research, air quotes, per turn of recruitment. If I drop down to my other mage that I really like, we would only get 18 research for the same amount of recruitment point time. So if you're rushing something, I quite like getting these guys until you get your research to the level that you want. And then I would switch to one of the other mages that I'm planning on doing something with that research, whether it's Thunderbolts or Lightning or Mist Form or Magma or Astral Shenanigans, whatever it is. This is a perfectly acceptable mage in combat. So while I don't love the efficiency of these things on him, in a pinch, those 10 researchers can go out there and still be Astral 2s if nothing else. They also are 48, so not guaranteed to be old, although likely to be in a short minute. So just keep that in mind. Next up, we have a very unique one, the 5-fold Angel. Don't get things confused. He's not as angelic as you may think. 315 gold, 1 resource, 2 recruitment points. Note that this is not a cap only. He has less than human stats because he has absolutely hurt himself. Those are not actual wings. He has just ripped himself open and made wings with his back. So not sure about that one. He has 100 leadership, I will note, 20 magic and 20 undead. The undead's important because it's demon leadership. Comes in at guaranteed blood 2, priest level 2. Not going to be efficient for the research at 126 gold for 9. Cold resist, no move, stealthy 50. Has damage reversal. So if somebody hits him, they have to make a save versus a 12. If they don't, they take the damage instead of him. That's kind of a meme, but also kind of cool. He's a spy, and he also causes 5 unrest. So again, we have a stealthy preacher option, and maybe in a very specific thug, perhaps. With the damage reversal, it could be a thing, but low HP, very high price. I wouldn't do that, but it could be a nice little arena surprise, perhaps, or something. Really kit one of these guys out or something. Blood 2 is very nice for searching. Get him a dowsing rod, and he'll be searching blood 3. No cross paths here. Weirdly enough, blood is one of the lines that really likes to have cross paths to summon in something interesting. But if nothing else, you could summon in like a fiend. That's fine. That gives you I believe that's a flying unit. So a flying vector of attack. Again, maybe that's also why that Eclipse could be useful, because you can use the dark power on those guys. I don't hate this. It's not slow to recruit. It is blood too. It's not cap only. So if you wanted to do a blood thing, you could definitely do it. If you were gonna go that route and you were gonna go hard blood, I would really strongly consider designing my pretender with the pathing of needed to summon in vampire counts, so that the vampire counts could then take over summoning more vampire counts. Because while we have a death one, blood one, that's a long ways to vampire counts. Or maybe you just stop at vampires or something. But I think you're looking at your pretender to cast the actual blood spell that you want, if you're going to go that route, beyond just some of the lower levels. So Spine Devils, I think you can get with just blood too. So that's okay. Definitely, it's a blood mage looking for somebody to do something with the blood slaves he can get. Next, we have the Eparch. This is a cap only priest level 3. He's cold resistant and he's old, and he kind of is deeply in old. He's 60. You can take unaging, and that will take him out of being old. That is a thing. Do note our map move here of 12 is -4 from his old age. So he would have 16 and basically be able to keep up with the army if he wasn't old. He has robes and a dagger, nothing to write home about there, but he's a non-slow to recruit, cap only holy 3. That's not the worst thing ever. So you're going to be pretty cognizant of whatever your bless turns out to, because that's going to determine what your word of power is. And having something that's long range, like the 100 range spells, is really nice. Or just be prepared to make sure you're in range of the 30 range smite spells and words of power type spells. So it can be kind of nice in the early game, especially here. This isn't really breaking the bank. 245 is not that bad. A couple of these guys going around with an expansion party, just like with the Astral Mages, can do a surprising amount. They can pop a couple Sermons of Courage and then just smite or Word of Power people. And it can be kind of useful, just depending on what that spell turns out to be for you. Finally, we have the Starets. This is a cap-only slow to recruit mage. 360 gold. Not really breaking the bank, honestly, for what we get. We have Fire 2, Air 1, Astral 2, Blood 1, and then a 100% chance of Air, Astral, Death, Blood, and a 10% chance of Fire, Air, Astral, Blood. So, unfortunately, I wish we could get that Fire in the 100% line. So, I would say the standouts are probably going to be the Astral 3s, but we already have Astral 2s, so having an Astral 3 is kind of whatever. These guys could lead Communions to do something, or Sabbaths if you were so inclined. This does bring us some blood cross-pathing if you did hit that blood. So now you're blood 2 fire. Now you're looking at demons or the like. So that opens that up a little bit. They are old, and they're quite old. Max age is 46 and they are 68. That is not great. They are adept researchers, but now we're slow to recruit. So despite the fact that they're 288 gold for 25 is already not efficient, and then they're also slow to recruit, not happening. I think you're getting these guys for a specific reason. One of which would be a relatively early one to go out and site search. That's not a horrible lineup for searching, but then whatever specific spell that you would want them to be casting. Overall, I think our main powers down in these more focused mages, Astral 2 and our Air 2 and our Astral 2. So those ones are much better. Who would I make my prophet? I think you have two decent choices here. You could just go with a Eparch and make him your prophet. That'll take him up to Holy 4. So you could just do Fanaticism. That's the battlefield-wide version of Sermon of Courage. Generally speaking, though, we're not going to have morale problems, so I'm not in love with that. I would probably like to put it on a Veliki Nyaz or his Nyaz friend. Either one would be fine. I like the heavier armor if I get the choice, but at the very beginning of the game, I would probably just put it on whoever and just be happy enough with that. National items and spells. As for national items, we have no national items. I will say we have a pretty good lineup of magic. Missing Earth 2, unfortunately. Missing Nature, unfortunately. At least without summons. So consider that. But we can do decent fire, decent air, decent astral. those are pretty good path things. A little bit of light death can have some nice items there. As for national spells, we have the Bogarus line of summoning. I'm not going to go into super depth here. I covered this in great detail in the early age Rus pregame video. If you really want the nitty gritty for these, I'm going to refer you to that. I will go over a few here. So all of our national spells are in conjuration. Most of these, we actually have the mages or close-ish to them. So the Simgarls we could do, the Firebirds we could do. Firebirds have the luck ability. They add a chance that a good event will happen where they're at. That can be a thing. It has been nerfed since Dom 5. It's not nearly as good as it was, but you could stack Firebirds in your capital and try to just get lots and lots of really good events. Do note, I believe every nation is limited to 5 events per turn, no matter how big you are. So at a certain point, there's diminishing returns as your territory expands, but it's a thing. Sirens are all right. We have Sloth of Bears and Moose, but we don't have native nature nor gym income for those. So unfortunately, not particularly great here. We don't have the water for any of these guys. The Alkanost is a pretty decent unit, but which we can do. The Liko also is an okay unit that we can do. I will specifically call out the Zame. Let's look at those here in a second. Midday we cannot do. Most of these, like I said, I'm not going to go into detail here. We just can't do any of these. If you create your pretender to do them, sure, but just be aware 2 astral, an air, and a fire is our income. So if you're looking at doing something like 40 nature gems, unless you picked Irminsul, I don't know how you're getting 40 nature gems on this nation. Let's actually peek at those units though. In here we have the Siren. Siren is a dream seductor. That could be something of interest to you. Beyond those, the Firebirds, here they are with their Bringer of Fortune. As I said, Bringer of Fortune gives you well, that's 2% is what that equals for Bringer of Fortune 2 to get a good event to happen. You're generally never going to want to bring these into combat. These are like an economic type thing that you would be doing. The one I want to call out is the Zame. I believe we used a couple of these. I don't remember if it was EA Rus or one of the middle-aged nations, but either way, I think these are pretty darn good. They have 3 bite attacks and they have a short-range Drake Fire Breath. Now, unfortunately, they are cold-blooded, but maybe, I mean, they're not undisciplined, so hold attack rear gives you a second where you could drop some cold resist on them, maybe, if you can get that somehow, or maybe you just don't care on that. 45 HP is not terrible. Protection of 13 is not terrible. If you're hold attacking rear, especially, generally speaking, you're not going to have the heaviest things there. And that Fire Breath is quite nice for clearing out bodyguards or archers. So I think that's kind of hold and attack archers could also be a play here, especially if they're the very slow crossbows, because they'll still be reloading when these guys would land. So you'll get at least 1 attack off before they get their volume that will probably shoot you. I will say those are pretty affordable too compared to a lot of these because there are only 5 fire gems. Remember, we do have 1 fire gem income. Fire 2 we have natively. You get 1 of them for 5 gems. I think that's okay. It's a little on the expensive side, but not horrible. And I believe, yeah, these are actually dragons. So if you made yourself some of the dragon summoning gear, there's a helmet and I believe there's a scepter and there's an enchantment, all of which could make this much more economically viable. Getting 2 of those for 5 is an absolute steal, for example. Beyond that, we have a wide variety of magic. So alteration, you're looking at the fire stuff, you're looking at maybe the light earth stuff, the astral stuff, of course, cheating fate and body ethereal. We could also do the mist things. We could do the mist forms. We can hop into communion, so we can go as high as we want in air. So arrow wards or storms could be put up. We could do fog warriors or the bigger versions of that. Those are like game-winning spells, and we could easily do this. We would only need a 3 mage communion. We'll get you to air 3. You spend 1 gem to go to 4 and 1 gem to cast it. So quite easy, quite accessible if you can get there. And we have good damaging troops that would love to have that little extra protection because they're a little on the weak side for that. Evocation, we have good fire good air, and good astral access, all of which is perfectly viable. Pick your target. Unfortunately, we like cold, so generally speaking, you'd prefer to use cold and fire and hot, but the fire still will do just fine, even if you're in the colder areas for it. The lightning, of course, can be rather useful. We don't need to worry about our own crossbows, so we could storm power, and then thunderstrike, or just spam lightning bolts if that we are so inclined. The astral spells can be nice. Astral Geyser, for example, is a armor negating horror mark with a secondary effect of an armor negating 2 damage. Now it's 2 plus 2d6, area of effect 12. That's a big area of effect for only 20 fatigue, and it's got good range. So you could even start combat with like probably a Light of the Northern Star and then 2 astral geysers before the lines clash, and then you could switch over to something you're not going to friendly fire yourself with, and that would be pretty good. Even the lighter stuff like Starfires, this is not the worst spell ever. 5+ armor negating, and you get 3 of those per cast. That's not terrible. Fire, of course, is fire. You probably want Fireball if you're going to go that route, and we talked about the air stuff. In construction, I think in early construction 3 for Alquills is a pretty good investment. I don't think you're going to regret that. 5 gets us up to Sanguine Dowsing Rods. We have good access to decent different magic pathing, but our gem income's going to hold back our thugging, and we don't have the greatest chassis. We don't have horrible, but they're humans. So I don't think we're really looking at thugging here, unless, I don't know, you're going to go with the vampire counts, or maybe you could go into some Banes, but we don't have the native income. I'm just so leery of non-native income in late age. Every time I've tried to count on it, I never find what I need. So unless I start with it or know how to get it, it makes me very leery to go those routes. Enchant, of course, has our archer stuff with the true shot and the like, although we are not the best archers. Ditto with ignite arrows. Again, we can do that on the short bows. That at least might allow you to do something. We'd really prefer to find some crossbows for that. We also have the giant strength here, which would be rather nice to get a hold of. And I'll call it out because I'm going to talk about it later. But at Enchant 6, we also have Eternal Pyre if we want to go really heavy fire. I'll talk about that, a build for that in a minute. Thaumaturgy, of course. Thaume 1, I would grab this really early if you don't start with it. Gives you your communions, which open up quite a lot for other mages. Also at 2, gives us a Mind Burn. Just a very good universal spell. Lots of range, has a chance to stun people. It's a 12+ armor negating magic resistant negates. So very nice, a good different threat vector than just protection type stuff or elemental type damage. We also could do the Battle Fury line. I don't cast this as much as I talk about it, but I do love the spell. +2 attack and +2 morale. We don't really suffer from bad attack, but let's say you did this to the Spearmen. Now the Spearmen have a pretty good chance to repel, for example. So can be rather nice on that in that regard. And then blood magic, we do have that available here. I mean, imps, not the worst thing ever. If we do have fiery imps, or we could blood boil somebody. Bind Fiend at 2 for 2 blood, which we can do natively. You get 3 blood slaves for 1 Fiend of Darkness. If you're going to go underground, great. If you want to throw up the Solar Eclipse, that also gives them the bonus. Underground would be my preferred. Our troops are already going to have the penalties that they're going to have, and this would just be a pure bonus for the Fiends. There's other things that are decent down here. I'm mainly thinking about the non-cross-pathing, but Bloodlust, if you do have demons, gives them, I believe it's 4 strength on them. Very, very nice. And it's just a battlefield wide and quite easy to cast. Literally just 1 blood slave to do. Now, beyond that, there's plenty of other little stuff here. We can, of course, Sabbath if you want, and you can go into bigger spells. Overall, I think we have pretty good magic access here. I will definitely say we don't go super high on anything, but we have easy access to Sabbaths or Communions, so you could basically do anything from fire that you want or air that you want, and with some work, earth that you want. So I think that's pretty decent there. Unfortunately, I wish that all of our mages were sacred, because then an Unaging Bless would be a no-brainer, but we don't. Very unfortunate on that. You notice even our best mage is not sacred. The angel is, but he's only the blood mage, and then the rest of the mages are not. So that's a little bit of an ouch on that, I would say. Okay, let's bring all that together. Bogarus is a nation that is not quite on par technologically, but they're close. They have decently equipped troops for the age, a nice shield, good weaponry, armor's a little bit lacking, a pretty good heavy cavalry, which is nice to see for a change of pace. We have non-slow to recruit, cap only, holy threes. Very nice to have that. Unfortunately, we don't really need that for blessing because our sacreds are kind of whatever. Maybe somebody can change my mind with an amazing bless I didn't think of on them. But even as just a early game mage, a holy 3 is nice to have. And even just throwing 1 per army, it lets you serve and encourage people. You can get some words of power off. If you have to banish people, that's always available. You could have a throne claimer with every single army. Those are all nice utility things to have. Unfortunately, we like the really cold areas, and really cold areas increase the chances of your old people getting diseases. So one thing to keep in mind there is we're going to have some mage attrition. Luckily, none of our mages are like overpriced. Part of that is because they're old. I think that lowers their recruit price down if I had to guess. So a very affordable mage lineup, but it's just a very practical lineup. I like these mages a lot. I think it's a really good mage lineup for late age. It's just realistic things that they can do. As boring as that may sound, being reliable is a strength in this case for sure. Let's take a look at some pretenders. Pretenders and scales. Just a reminder, we have a scale and bless bonus of cold limit +1 and misfortune limit +1. For pretenders, we have a modest but decent lineup, I would say. Unfortunately, the Great Enchantress, as much as I love her, probably is not going to work here. We don't have any other glamour available, but maybe your crazy bless is going to have something to do with that. Of the other Dom ones, I do like the Great Sage here quite a bit. We have pretty efficient researchers, and we could give them an extra +1. He himself is pretty efficient there. If you're looking for a Astral Bless, you definitely could do worse. We do have the Spartov Mastersmith. Remember, he is the guy that can transform into a Gnomer, and his pathing changes a little bit when he does that transformation. If you want a Crafter, but also some expanding, and a Dragon Master, that could be an avenue. He only needs Fire 2 to be able to make use of the Zamaze summons, so that could be a thing. The Eldest Dwarf, again, if you just want even cheaper, he is dirt cheap. 80 cost for a decent crafter here. I definitely would say you would want at least Earth 2 so you can make himself boots, and then of course whatever else you're planning on crafting. Maybe those dragon summoning items could be a thing. We have a Master Alchemist. I don't love this though. He's only twice as effective as a normal alchemist. I don't think I would take him over, say, a Master Smith for 10 more points. We have the Vampire Queen. If you're going to go with the vampire summoning strategy, maybe. I've never liked her. Her HP is way too low for what you get. She is immortal, though, so maybe if that's your bag, you could make something work here. In this case, you could take a blessing that maybe affects her well, but wouldn't work for the rest of our nation. That could be a thing. Moving up to Dom 2s, Lenomer, as previously mentioned, is perfectly fine. I've had a little bit of luck with Sons of Finir, but again, we don't have a sacred that I care about, so that's You can make Virtue work for sure. This is a nation that you could take the Draco Lich on. Give him the Reforming Flesh. He can get out there and do some work, and we didn't have anybody we cared about blessing anyways. And that would also make your Word of Power be the Syllables of Death. I believe that's a save or die spell. So that wouldn't be the worst thing ever. So Draco Lich, actually a very high honorable mention, I would say, for this nation. I think we want production, so none of the sloth things do it for me. Moving up to Dom 3, we have the Norse gods. These are okay. I will call out the Vola of Bountiful Forest for being a Water 1, Nature 1 gem generator. That's not terrible. And I will call out the Davis of the Sun. I'm going to show a build off for her, so I'm not going to go into her right here. And Ashjaya, it gives you a disease healer. That could be kind of nice if you were going to have lots of your old mages. She could disease heal off of them. She also gives you the nature in, although no nature income, unfortunately. Hopping up to 3, we do have Irminsul. He does have a sight, so even if he's imprisoned, you get the sight. The sight itself generates 1 nature gem. I'm not in love with that, though, because what are you going to take? I suppose he would be the absolute cheapest chassis that you could get unaging on. We would need one. So there you go. The absolute cheapest unaging. And then we go like full imprisoned. That's a lot of design points. Can we even spend that? Hang on. Can I even spend that many design points? I don't even know. I can't even spend that many design points. He is so cheap. Heck, we could make him a little bit more reasonable here. All right, maybe we don't take. Maybe we do keep these. Yeah, here you go. So a Dom 8 full scales with unaging, and he's only dormant. There you go. That could be a thing. I don't think that's a good thing, but there you go. That's a funny build. Idol of Sorcery, always a strong pick. Extra magic scales, which we quite would like for the research bonus, and decent pathing to make an interesting bless. The Fountain of Blood, if you wanted to go with the blood strategies, you have some plan for that. That's not terrible. We have Holy 3, so it doesn't matter, particularly if our god is immobile. So that is a nice bonus there. Let's take a look at a couple that I built. First one up is Old Man Book. This is a great sage. He's awake. He comes in with 5 Dominion score. He's going to be Order 1, Production 2. I do like the extra production on this nation a lot. I think you can get away without taking the order if you want. Although, do note, our Heavy Cav likes both of those. We did go Cold 3. I don't mind the pop kill that you get from that, and it's just such a deterrent to people. That being said, of course, the standard late age caution of Lemuria likes it cold, Atlantis likes it cold, Calum likes it cold. So maybe think about doing that if any of them are in your game. Maybe think about playing this nation if any of them are in your game. But yeah, just be aware of that. For him, I took mainly it was for the Arcane Finesse, and I had 1 point left over. So it was literally Arcane Command or Mountain Survival. I took Arcane Command. This is going to give us a nice 100 range Word of Power for our Holy 3s. Makes them pretty decent at helping your expansion early on. And then this will help him when he casts some of the bigger battlefield stuff possibly later. So he's going to be able to get out and also make your astral boosters. If that is something you are so inclined, he can do that pretty well. He's mainly the turbo research for something strategy guy. He's fine. I found him a little bland, so I probably will not play him. And we will probably check out Dawn. Dawn is a Divas of the Sun. What I like about the Divas of the Sun chassis, she has a discount on this nation. So she's only 190 points. That's at least more reasonable for a Titan. You know my complaints about Titan pricing. She comes in with Fire 2 generator. We have 1 native, so we're getting 3 fire gems per turn from her. I like that quite a lot. Here, I did go with Unaging to try to get my old, what are they, Eparchs? Whatever our Holy 3 guys are. They can now have map move 16 with this and not catch other diseases. Plus, if you had somebody who's not old age but will turn old age, you could give them a shroud, and I think that will slow down their aging. I'm sure it will slow down their aging. It won't make them younger, but it'll slow down their aging. So if you're like 48, you probably can finish the game before you hit old age. And then just resilient and inspirational presence because I had points to spend. Her main thing here, though, is we are going to try to do the, Eternal Pyre and get the 20 fire gems and then focus in on summoning in those Zamays. I think the Zamays are pretty interesting, and they're so different than the rest of our army that if somebody's been building to counter our army or our normal magic, it's just a totally different threat vector. And in theory, we have 1 fire gem, she generates us 2, and we get 2 astral pearls. So even not touching our air gems, which we could turn into owl quills, that means that we could have essentially 4 fire gems per turn from turn 1. In addition to that, I got good enough scales here. I did take a little bit of misfortune. Maybe you could take some productivity off. Maybe you could take off a magic scale if you're so inclined. I thought this was fine. Remember, we do have the Seer on one of our mages, so he can help counter this a little bit. Other than that, she also has Nature 3. Brings in a little bit of nature. I don't really have a strict plan for that, but she could do something, relief or something later on for your army, or just bark skin. Honestly, we wouldn't mind the extra protection. course, you can obviously gear her up. She has full slots. Also, a very good leader in her own right, being 260 leadership for +2, plus the inspiration, plus inspirational presence will be an additional +1. So, absolute crazy good leader. Not that that's particularly needed, but her main thing was just going the fire gem route and trying to get those eternal pyre, and then summons the maze like crazy. And on the way to the maze, we also could maybe pick up fire spirits. That's another fire unit that's pretty good. They're fire 3 units, so that could be quite nice getting those up and running. So those are the 2 builds that I tinkered around with. Let me know if you have a interesting build for their sacreds. I just didn't find anything I cared about. I know, like I said, I know people are going to be like the fire explosion one. That just doesn't do it for me. I always end up hurting myself more than I hurt my enemy when I take things like that. But maybe somebody else has the magic touch. Maybe you have them in the far back on hold attack rear and you buff them with flight and then they fly in and explode or something. But I don't know. That sounds very prone to babble problems that I probably do not want to have. In conclusion, Late Age Bogarus is a very fun nation. We have a good army. Scales troops are really nice to have, and we can expand with them just fine. We have good mages that can do things pretty effectively. We have a big summon lineup, and some of them are very affordable if you go with the fire or even the air ones or the astral ones. The other ones are a bit more of a stretch, but if you can make them work, it's always nice to have. A lot of them are mages. Again, if you want to see and hear more about that, check out the Early Age Rus video where I went over those in quite deep detail. But other than that, it's a pretty fun nation. A little bit of blood access, light blood, but blood nonetheless. So quite a fun nation here. As I mentioned before, I'm always interested in interesting builds, especially if you can make those sacreds do something super interesting that I'm just not seeing. But other than that, yeah, just a very fun, solid nation to play. All right, I will see you guys in the Tundra on stream. We are nearing the end of getting every single nation with a pregame video. I think we have 2 or 3 more to go, so very, very close. I'll see you there, builders.